Hey everyone, welcome to Sil Screencast 51. So if you remember, about a million years ago, I was casting one of Clouded's Edain Hador games, and I never finished. So I decided to continue on with the series, because it kind of ties in nicely with our previous player series that ended at Screencast 50 with, spoiler alert, one of our dodgy flanky characters who was an elf running through and winning. So this build is a lot more fragile, but sort of a similar starting point at least. It kind of modified once he got the Glaive of Gorin. But to sort of recap, I guess you'd want to go back to the last episode, but he was sort of a dodgy flanky guy. He found the Glaive of Gorin, and then he started winning. That's roughly where we're at. So he's here at 700 feet, and we're going to get moving. If this is slow, I think I can speed it up. He's walking in circles for some reason. Okay, let's pause for a sec, see where he's at. So he does have a ton of stuff. Nice light. And it seems like he's holding on to a fair number of things because he knows what they are, or suspects what they are, but would like the experience variety in them. This is the problem. He's playing vanilla Sil, where you need to survive or you need to make a perception check to actually ID something. Even if you hit an orc a million times with this Gondolin sword, it might not ID. And just as in our last character, I think this guy is pretty unstealthy, and typically the thing you have to deal with as soon as you land on a new floor is waking absolutely everything up. So far he's doing okay. So maybe Solid Rimborg gives free action, which is why he swapped to that. I actually can't remember. It must be. That doesn't make sense otherwise. And his will is quite high, so I'm not sure. Oh. I'm not sure what his food situation is, I don't remember, but he might really not want to be hungry right now. So he's got Polar Mastery, and he's using that ability to at least get a free hit off. Oh, Kevin Rocco, you're the worst. So these things are usually terrible, and they still are kind of terrible, but he's a bit better off because he has a really big weapon that has sharpness. So. This is a bad situation at 14 HP. That thing could probably easily breathe for that much poison damage. Although for some reason it chose not to breathe at all. Another one? Oh, same one. Okay. I would probably run at this point. These things are slow. Wow, nice. If that had been me, he's better than me, but I probably would have tried to tunnel through that door, because the Glaive of Gorin can tunnel in one turn, and to get out of range, because those creeping horrors hit like trucks. I think most of his equipment is artifact or protection level now, so he won't take a lot of equipment damage by getting acid burned, but nice. So you sort of want to, in a normal game, you sort of want to avoid resting to full HP too much, because it doesn't matter whether you have 20 max HP or 600 max HP, it takes the same amount of time to rest to full. This is awful. So this is a bad situation because there's two staircases here, and one of them's a down shaft, so yeah, he didn't want to flee down. But he was getting screwed over because he was trapped in that area, and a ton of monsters were constantly appearing at the stairs faster than he could fight them off. So I guess he's decided, 750 is a little bit too intense for me right now. And that's one of the good things about having something that has granite level tunneling, which I think is +3. If you know there's a secret door somewhere and you have the strength to tunnel through granite, you can just try to tunnel through the area where you know the door is, and it'll smash the door open. Nice Mithril gauntlets. Somehow, I don't understand how he has enough stealth. Does he have any stealth? I should check his skills next time, because he seems to be avoiding notice. It could just, because his armor is pretty heavy too, I think. Because werewolves are pretty much as perceptive as you can get. Wow, so much oil. Okay, yeah. Oh, my favorite spiders. Again, once you can see them, it's not that big a deal. It's just when you can't, they're terrible. Oh, so I guess I'm totally confused about this build. I don't think he does have dodging and flanking. Otherwise he would be flanking them. Nice. And that's another place where, if you don't mind making a bit of noise, you can just tunnel through that door. Although, interesting. Flea and Kemenrikor are the worst. You're never going to catch them. Yeah, his evasion's high enough that cave trolls really aren't that worrisome. Wow, there's rubble everywhere. I'm not sure why he's not tunneling open the doors. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, you can't. I'm gonna have to try that out. Oh, that's the Corselet Durin. So this 3d3 it's the only armor in the game that has 3 dice. Although I thought it would auto ID, but I guess it doesn't have anything on there that obviously shines. I think it gives you hunger and resistance to cold and fire, but that 3d3 is wicked because it gives you a lot of base protection. I don't think I found that in ever. It's been a really long time. So that's a nice find. I think it's wicked heavy too, though. But I mean, up until I guess the Nevrast armor was added to the game, Durin was pretty much the best artifact armor, I think. Yeah, so he's sick of getting criticaled. There's 2 ways to avoid criticals from these guys. One is to avoid the evasion penalty from being surrounded, and the other one is to take critical resistance. So he's got a reasonable amount of evasion he wants to protect. Plus 17 is good enough to really wipe the floor with werewolves. I'm not sure where his strength was coming from. He must have had strength gauntlets that he swapped for something that I missed. Either that or his armor was giving him strength somehow. I can't think. Oh, maybe. Did he have the male Corselet Gundor? I think that increases strength by 1. We'll check next time he goes into his inventory. Oh, no, it was his gloves. Never mind. So there's 2 kinds of spider themes in Sil. One is the poisony spider, one is the entrancey spider. And there's even 2 spider bosses who fit that. So Shelob is an entrancey spider, and Ungoliant is a poisony spider. The Gorgoroth ones are the entrancey spiders, which is why he switched to his free action gloves. Something else I discovered recently is that resistances to elements in Sil stack, so I knew that already. So if you have... Wow, where did that Staff of Foes come from? Anything interesting here? That's a lot of Kemenrikor, that's really annoying. There's like a vampire with its pet Gorgoroth spider down there too. The grotesque is probably the worst part of all of this, but he has sharpness, so it doesn't matter. What was I saying? Yeah, so this is fun. So elemental resistance is stacked, so if you have 1 source of fire resistance, you get half damage. If you have 2 sources of fire resistance, you get third. So it's basically 1 over x plus 1, where x is your number of sources of resistance. Resistances to effects in Sil don't make you immune to things, they just give you plus 10 to the relevant check. So for example, if you have free action and you have 8 will, if you roll against a monster who tries to paralyze you, you'll get effective 18 will against their will. And so basically you get their score and your score, and you both roll d10s, and whoever wins, wins. So I used to think, and the way it was sort of communicated is that effect resistances also stack. So if you had two sources of free action, it would be like getting plus 20. I think that was actually the intent. But we were digging through the code the other day, and that's completely not true. So if you have more than one source of an effect resistance, like free action or I guess resistance to blindness or hallucination or whatever, it just counts once. So we had somebody on the forums, I think it was TapTap, who had two sources of free action and like 18 will or something. And he got paralyzed by a dragon and couldn't figure out why, because it should have been mathematically impossible. But the way the code handles it is just as a flag. So I think that's going to get fixed in the next version. But it's funny how long some of these things can stick around. As another fun fact, since Kem and Roko are sort of active on this floor, and we've seen them a few times. Let's pause here. Wow, so the male Corsolid Edain resists fire and poison, I guess. I think he had something before that resists cold. It regenerates and hungers you. He's actually got a lot of good stuff. I don't know where all this stuff is coming from. We'll have to take a look. This is from Celebrimbor. But yeah, not bad. So you may have noticed before that... Sorry, one more pause. So he's got stealth boots. He's got these Celebrimbor gloves, true sight helm, a shitty cloak. I guess this ring, he must be about, I bet he's about to inscribe this ring to say that it's resistance to cold, so like warmth or something. Yeah. Oh. Or Durin gives resistance to cold and fire, I guess? Hoburka Madros that I think gives resistance to fire and poison. Anyways, Claudia knows these things better than me. So Kem and Roko, you may have noticed when they take a swing at you, sometimes they hit the ground and they cause an earthquake, and Morgoth does the same thing. You saw that in any of our Throne Room videos. And what Clouded is doing right now is thinking, do I have enough food to survive the hunger effect of Durin? Which he really doesn't. Yeah. So in Vanilla Sil, having hunger and regen, or like any hunger effect tied to regen, always works all the time. Whereas in MPA Sil, like we were playing before, your hunger is only increased if you're actually actively healing. But anyways, you may have asked yourself, like, what's this thing where Kem and Roko or Earthquake mean? You know, what makes that happen? Is it a separate attack? Is it when they miss? So both Morgoth and Kem and Roko will quake when you fail your evasion roll by between 0 and 3, basically. Or 1 and 3, I guess. So it's like a narrow miss. If he narrowly misses you, you'll get quaked. So the effect of that is if you have really low evasion, and you're just constantly getting hit in the face by them, they'll never earthquake. And similarly, I guess if you had like obscenely high evasion, they would never get a chance either. But I think Morgoth hits for like plus 30. So you would really need like basically plus 50 evasion to guarantee that he would never, well, sorry, like plus 45 or something. But anyways, a very unlikely number. This Durin armor is actually really great for dudes who don't use shields, because it kind of bumps up the low end of your protection as if you were wielding a shield. Alright, let's see. Wow. I think he has charge, which would explain why he's crushing that thing. I'm also not sure if he's going to kill everything here and then go back and look what that amulet is, or if he's just genuinely disinterested. And yeah, sometimes when you see like a ring, I think that amulet might be adornment. I don't think there's anything here that he didn't have already that it gave him. And now he has a weapon of Slay Roko too, which is nice. Nargothrond. I'm not sure where he picked that up. Anyways, yeah, sometimes when you see these ring runes, Yeah, I don't ever know how to spell it either. No, there's an R here. He's actually spell correcting it. That's wrong too, actually. Should be Nargothrond, I think. Awesome. No, I don't think it's regen. Unless he took off his... I'm pretty sure if you have two sources of regen, it will show up in your self-knowledge menu as saying like you regenerate very quickly, but you get very hungry or something. He may have forgotten that Durin gives regen, but I don't think so because he saw it before. Anyways, I guess he'll figure it out. He's pretty smart. And that's a good thing about those creeping horrors. Once you can see them, it's pretty easy to kite them. They can scream at you to cause fear. But so this is sort of a bad dude to fight as an Edain, pretty much ever, because your will is never really up to snuff. Like, one grace is pretty nasty. Somehow he's still pretty sneaky, so he's getting up close to it. The Nargothrond axe would probably be a better bet against it, because it'll do a heck of a lot of damage. 40-10 is nothing to sneeze at. I was just about to say, I'm pretty sure those drakes were close together. I guess he forgot. But, yeah, no, this is not... Yeah, they hit super hard. It doesn't really matter if you have good protection or not. But, yeah, the Nargothrond thing would help a lot. The problem with those axes, though, with those Nargothrond brands against dragons is that dragons are already pretty prone to running away. And it's super obnoxious when you, like, almost die. Get them down to low health and then they run away. Almost as obnoxious as shadow spiders running away, actually. Not quite as much, though. Actually surprised, I forget what the native depth of shadow spiders is. I thought it was like 600 or something. It seems weird for them to be this deep. So one thing you'll notice that Claudia does a lot better than I do is he tends to explore a lot on diagonals. It lets you cover a lot of visual ground more quickly. I tend to just walk wherever the hell I feel like it. That's a lot of wolves. That's a lot of things. So I think this was probably like a vaulty area where there's a lot of sort of high difficulty monsters, and that Kemenroko helpfully dug it all out so that there's no way to sort of engage them one at a time. So I think what Clouded is saying is screw this. The greater werewolves, they'll hit them pretty hard, and the other difficulty is they start to stack up poison pretty quickly. So actually, he does have a lot of stealth. He must have gone for opportunist. Maybe that's what it was. But even, well, maybe he was just sick of getting attacked all the time. So that explains why he's been like walking in the middle of open spaces and not being seen right away. It's a really awkward build. The problem with that stealth investment, maybe he was planning on doing something different, but he said he was going for a heavy weapons build for this guy. So, I don't know. I'll claim to have no idea. I think Opportunist only needs 6 stealth. The other thing to note is when you get more than one intelligent monster of the same kind at a time, even if they're normally solitary, they'll establish pack behavior. So they'll do things like try to surround you and stuff, even though normally they're not that smart. This is tricky. Yeah. He had a hard choice to make there because the Kemenroko hits really hard, but the vampire drains stats, so you really don't want to get your con drained before you get punched in the face by a giant statue. And that's probably why he went after the vampire first. Oh, that amulet was regen. I'm just an idiot. Sorry, I'm just gonna go back. Yeah. Never mind. I could have sworn it would have made some indication that you had like double the amount of regeneration or double the amount of hunger, but maybe not. I guess he got so mad at that misspelled inscription that he wiped it away. It'd be pretty embarrassing if one day somebody comes and digs up this poor man's corpse and in the bottom floor Angband and people realize you couldn't spell Nargothrond. around. Man, a little bit of stealth goes a long way. I would have expected those werewolves to have a lot better perception. Because the stealth isn't that high. It's high, but not like 20s high. Wow, unmoored at this depth should signal that something bad is going to happen, because I think they have a native depth of 1,000 feet. He basically has infinite light at this point, so yeah. Yeah, he's losing a lot of food turns too, which is shitty. I don't know how much food he has on him. I think he just has bread. And like most of the time you should be able to find a lot of food on the deep floors, but sometimes you just get screwed and there's nothing, and this seems like one of those games. He could eat that like terror herb just to get a couple 100 points worth, but or 100 points I think. But by the time you rest it off, those Gorgoth spiders actually have pretty crummy shadow radius. I thought they would be worse than shadow spiders. Nice longsword. Let's see if he switches to the Nargothrond axe. Nope. Just not feeling it. It's actually a pretty good idea when you have normal con to stay the hell away from dragons. So there's clearly some wolves or spiders somewhere around here. He's probably trying to decide if it's worth exploring the west side of the dungeon or if he should just go down that other set of stairs. Lots of terror herbs. That's interesting. Yeah, I guess he looked at the rest of the map and decided, hey, this isn't worth it. I think we're going to stop here. I don't have a lot of time for this episode, and I'm cognizant of the fact that the last episode was an hour and a half long, and maybe he might want something that's slightly more digestible for this time around. So not bad, he's at 850. I'm not sure how much more is left in this playthrough, if he's going to sprint to the end, or if he's going to splat or what. I still haven't watched the end of this. So I'm at the same point that you guys are. But hope you enjoyed the episode, and I will see you guys next time.